Hi, my name is Jeff Pagano, and welcome to the Harp and Rugby preview show. And joining me to look ahead to Ireland's quarterfinal against the All Blacks is someone making appearance number 63. Welcome to Mr. Neil Keego Keegan.
How are we? How are the nerves? How is everybody?
They're as good as can be expected after getting through to Friday the week before a match like this. But just before we look at it, Keego, we had you on last week before the Scotland match, and you were woefully short with your prediction. You said we'd win by 21. It was actually 22. So I'm not
Oh,
I'm not sure we even want to trust your forecast this week. But seriously, how'd you see it?
yeah. I obviously the start is the start that we need this weekend. The lads obviously played without fear. They played with freedom. The output was massive. You could see that kind of the last quarter. The legs were slowing down a wee bit, which we can't have this weekend. But listen, that was a knockout game of ball, and they were not found wanting on any level. So, and Scotland came to spoil the party. Like that's a massive thing that they did last weekend. It's another notch on the belt, and we roll forward. But listen, everyone, you know, that's that's our output that we should be expecting. Things like that all the way through. And if we do that, then teams are going to struggle to live with us.
Absolutely. And it was interesting how they were so keen to react to what the Scots had been saying in the week building up to the game. When you consider we've got the All Blacks this week, potentially France or South Africa to come down the line. And you hear plenty of them the week before big matches as you do. So it shows that they're ready for that kind of in midweek battle as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so now it's time for to look at our feature match of the week, which, as you can see, there is Ireland v New Zealand in the quarterfinals of the Rugby World Cup. It's taking place at the Stade de France in Paris on Saturday, October 14th, kicking off at 8 p.m. Irish time. TV coverage is in Ireland is on Virgin Media 1 and ITV1, and as ever, you can find the full listings for the weekend on harpandrugby.com. Just click the Rugby on TV tab. Ireland named their match day 23 on Wednesday afternoon this week, and if you're watching on YouTube, it's right there in the screen, or for the pod listeners, it's in the program notes. Keego's picked out 3 points he wants to talk about. This is one that he's talked about before, but it's worth repeating. It's important. It's about Ireland's comfort as the favourites.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a obviously, as we spoke about before, it's an Irish thing. We almost talk ourselves out of certain bits and pieces. And you could see it creeping up kind of Monday, Tuesday. And there was some, social media is an interesting place the best of times, but it was correcting itself as the conversation would go, like trying to point out that, we are favorites. We have to be comfortable with this. We have to be able to react to being favorites, number one in the world, whatever your sport, whatever your job is. If you're good at it, you've got to be confident that you are good enough to be able to perform under pressure. The team has shown this long term. Obviously there are ups and downs as there is in every form of life, but we are favorites for this game. We are favorites for this tournament, and we have been behaving like that all the way through. You look at other teams. We're going to talk about in point number 3, how other teams are reacting to Ireland being favorites for all of these things. But we have to be confident in that. We have to be able to handle that pressure, in our own lives at work and in the big jersey on Saturday. So I think the good thing is it started to correct itself a little bit, in terms of people actually using logic and their brains, as opposed to going back to the old way of thinking. So we have to be comfortable with that.
Yeah, I mean, like my missus follows the Irish team. She doesn't follow the Leinster so much, and she's coming to me saying people that she works with are saying, "Oh, we're going to lose. We always lose to New Zealand." And this is a mentality that comes from people who only really watch when it is the World Cup. They follow when it's hype like this. And to be fair, if you've only followed World Cups
Yeah.
for Ireland, you're thinking 2015, we were confident then we were going to win. You're thinking 2019, we were confident then we were going to win. I mean, we really confident into those quarterfinals. 2019, maybe not so much against these same All Blacks,
Mm-hmm.
but it's something that's been felt before. But I mean, like we've always said, like if you want to get an inspiration for fans, all you have to do is watch the team themselves when they're talking in press conferences and little social media little bits they do online and stuff. They're relaxed, they're confident, and they know the expectations of them going into this match.
Andrew Porter did a short video during the week. uh Go watch that after you've watched this podcast, because it's a great interview with him. He's a kid. Obviously he's a mutant, but he's a, you know what I mean, in the real grand scheme of things, he's a child, and he's speaking like a 60 capper. He's speaking like someone who's confident in his ability and the team's ability. It's a great watch. It'll steady yourself if you watch that.
Absolutely. I'll put a link there in the program notes. Okay, your second point is on the second row battle.
Yeah, I love this. So obviously with Ryan out with the hand injury, it's Hendo and Byrne again, which obviously different ways of playing the game. Or no, sorry, that's the old way of thinking. Ryan is now this kind of Henderson character, an abrasive, skillful guy, which is great. So there's not much change there, but it's you can see Henderson is hungry for that leadership role, and Byrne is right there. You can switch him 4-6, you can do all sorts. But on the other side, Retallick and Barrett, I think Retallick has a big game coming. I think they're whether it's stubbornness, whether it's form up and down, whether it's being annoyed with how the New Zealand media are talking about his team as an experienced player, Barrett as well. I feel he's gonna have a shot at this. He's going to be really aiming at the disrupting the line out, going straight for Sexton, squeezing penalties out of Porter, which is again old thinking. But these are the things that he is going to be doing. All that experience is going to happen in that second row, and it's going to be a great battle. I think that our second row and their second row play a slightly different game. Obviously, skill on both sides of the ball, but it's a different game they're going to be playing. So it's going to be interesting to see how that matches up.
Absolutely. And on missing James Ryan, I mean, obviously any team would miss someone like him. But I suppose as much as I hate to hark back to the Champions Cup final, I mean, you'd rather a scenario where you knew you didn't have him and you had a second rows that were preparing throughout the week,
Mm,
getting ready together, than to have him playing the game of his life and then lose him after 20 minutes
yeah.
and have to cope then. So it's better for him if he's not able to be in the squad that he's out, and we've got two great lads there
Yeah.
taking his place. Okay, and your final point has to do with New Zealand and how they sound like Razzie.
Yeah, so this is an interesting thing because I for the 100 years we've been watching the game, New Zealand have never started the over trash talk, or it's rare that they do it. Razzie does it because he knows that there isn't a huge amount more than that team can offer the World Cup. His team, they came out against us and went for it, and they didn't have it. They don't have any other tricks to so he starts talking, his bum starts flapping. um, the All Blacks have started doing it as well, and I don't think they need to do it. I think I know understand they're not in their best run of form, but as we've said before, this is a free shot for them. They don't need all of this sort of trash talk. Even their social media team are starting it as well. And to be fair, we've gone back with a few clips as well online, kind of with a bit of banter. But in any aspect of life, when someone you're speaking to or your opposition, when their arse starts flapping, that means they're worried. And they've been doing this all week. They've been even doing it before this team. Scotland didn't do it. They went for it. Now there was a bit of we're going to stop the run. That's a different thing. That's players. But this is management speaking like this, speaking like Razzie. And I can only imagine sitting in the Irish dressing room going, listen, they're already, their arses are flapping and it's only Monday. Let's just keep going. Let's put this pressure on them.
Absolutely. The social media posts, I don't know what that thing with the suitcase was all about. I mean, it was screaming for saying that, oh, maybe they're going into the game carrying a bit of baggage. But I don't, I mean, it just, I don't know. I don't understand what the point is, but that's going to be, if the result doesn't go their way, that's really going to be taken off next week, I'd say. Yeah, no, looking at the lineup, I mean, the first thing I said about Ryan not being involved, it wouldn't surprise me if there was still a change before Saturday. There was a couple of players like Mac Hansen and stuff that weren't maybe 100% going into the weekend. They named the team early, but I wouldn't say. But I think the important thing to realize is that if we do hear about that late change, don't be too shocked because they would have been ready for that. This is a team that looks like they're 3 steps ahead of everything that could go on. So the other thing is, it'd be great to see Jimmy O'Brien. He's the only player who
Yep.
hasn't played so far. And just two more things. Well, three more things really. Number one, Russ Petty, who does great stats online on Twitter. If you're not following him, make sure you follow him. He always comes up when he does a tweet. It's a pertinent stat. He put up all the stats of all the appearances of the players
Mm.
Throughout the pool stages, and only two out of all the 8 quarterfinalists, only two players played all 320 minutes in the pool stage, and they're both Irish. It was Hugo Keenan and Bundy Aki. So that was an interesting stat. Shows how Ireland have kept the squad together. Finally, just the two elements that Ireland need more than anything else, and they get them from the squad. It's the accuracy that's expected. I mentioned that Champions Cup final. That was one thing Leinster were lacking in the closing stages from players we expected from. If we can get the accuracy from the players that we know that they can do, and also discipline. Only one yellow card in that pool
Yeah.
stages, and only 7 penalties conceded last week. Keep those levels as it is, and we'll really be strong.
Yeah, I think so. Just one thing on that tweet that you were talking about, there was the table of discipline, the
Yeah.
discipline table, and you could see New Zealand further up with plenty of cards. So it's almost the reversal. People were talking before tournaments, or maybe 6, 12 months ago, of squeezing penalties out of Andrew Porter out of the second row. We're clean. It's New Zealand that have a discipline issue going in this weekend. So you know what I mean? There's all the things that might have been used against us in a previous situation has been completely reversed by this team. It's a squad now, not a team. So, you know, the captain's run happened just before we started talking. Mac was out there running around. Lowe was out there running around. Everyone looks well, looks good. But as you say, if there's changes, Jimmy O'Brien's a Champions Cup player. Even Gibson Park on the wing, Crowley at 12. Ringrose on the wing, all this sort of stuff. So, and I think another thing is going to happen. I don't want to take up the whole day, but it's getting exciting. Our first receiver is going to change regularly during this game. I think that's a thing that we've been saving. So Bundy used to step in early. Farrell, I think Bundy could step in. Ringrose can step in. All these sort of players can step in and open up that pitch, because I think I think there are tricks to come out of this team that we haven't seen yet, and we are going to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's our squad. Why don't we have a look at the All Blacks now? They picked their team day after us, and a couple of interesting selections in there.
Yeah, look, they're going for it now. Obviously, the disciplinary issues we speak about, there's players being left out for going out and having a few beers. And listen, fair play to New Zealand for making that call, because I can't remember the player's name now.
Talea.
He goes out for a few points, great player, a lot of upside potential on him. This could have been a game where he could have really stamped his name on that jersey. Again, his arse flapped a little bit, went out for a beer, and the coach says no. So that was a good, brave call by the coach. But I think, you look at the second row again, as we talked about, Retallick and Bart. They're big, they're ready to rock. The back row, like I keep forgetting about back rows, but like Kane, Savea, and Smith there in the back row. I've got it wrong. Frizzell, Kane, and Savea. It's going to be another massive, massive battle. Like, Doris and Savea on the same pitch at the same time. Let's go. And the back line, listen, they're all due to see what pressure does to them. Will Jordan again has been slightly up and down, but he's ready to rock. Ione as well, and Geordie Barrett there in the midfield. Like, it's going to be amazing. They've picked the best team they can while leaving out a potential player, which I guess maybe if you're working off potential as opposed to results so far for players, maybe he would have been left out anyway. But it's a strong team. It's a strong squad. We have our own squad Booma ready to go as well. So, there's going to be no excuses after this game. This is the best of the two squads pick. This is the irresistible force against the immovable object. And this is exactly what we asked for. When we looked at this squad, we looked at this group, we looked at this tournament. This is what we wanted. When we get to the end of this tournament, there will be no excuses, no weak side of the draw, none of that stuff. We went through it to get there. And it's beyond exciting.
Yeah, I mean you look at the All Blacks lineup, and we've all watched Super Rugby over the years. We know individually that each one of these players can dominate matches. I suppose it's all about how they come together on the day, compared to Ireland, who've shown how well they play together. It was an interesting call leaving Talea out and being so open about. Well, I suppose he had to explain why he was left out, because he would have been expected to start. Interesting choice on the bench. I really thought they'd give Cam Roigard a go as a sub scrum half over Finlay Christie, but a lot of the All Black fans are surprised at that as well. But you don't want to make too many questions about the bench. I mean, obviously, when they're being introduced, you hope the game has moved on at that stage, you know. But it's definitely a strong lineup. But like you always say, you pick a team from the two teams, and complete this is the All Blacks. You'd be pushed. I mean, you look at the best player you'd have on that team. I'd say that would really stand out would be Survey at number 8. But then you put him against Doris. Who would you pick first? I mean, it's a tough call right the way throughout the squad. I mean, it's amazing that we're even in this position to have such a strong squad up against the All Blacks in a quarterfinal. Okay, so now it's time to move on. A quick look at the officials. As you can see there, Wayne Barnes has the whistle, and the weather for Saint-Denis in Paris is pretty much the same as last weekend. Low chance of rain, a little bit cooler than last weekend, but little or no wind, so it should be perfect conditions there. So that brings us to the other 3 quarterfinals. Of course, there's a lot of great matchups there, but which one stands out to you the most?
Look, South Africa, France is going to be massive. The box name their squad, I think, was this morning. Time has lost all meaning, and they've kind of gone with experience. Again, I think when you know what's against the wall, you go with what you know, and that's what Razi's done. It's but like you know, Dupont will be back in with his broken cheek or repaired cheek. That's where they're going to go. But obviously, it's going to be exciting. But like full disclosure here, my full on emotional, physical energy is going in to 8 o'clock tomorrow night.
Yeah,
And that's it. I look, to be totally honest, I'm gonna watch South Africa France. I'm not invested in that at all.
yeah.
I'm gonna enjoy that as a innocent bystander.
Well, let's just
Uh,
say our talking about it now on Friday morning, our enjoyment of Sunday is like almost 100%, 110% dependent on what happens
yeah,
on Saturday night. So it'd be a totally different watch either way. But no, it's definitely one to look forward to, and a good way to end the weekend.
yeah.
Okay, so that brings us finally to Head on the Block time. You got to make it, man. What's your prediction?
Yeah, listen, we've got it. I think it's a score like I think it's 7 points, something like that, 7-10. And yeah, and I think it's going to be a strong finish. I think it's going to be the opposite of last week. I think we're going to finish strong like we do and really send a message.
That's good. Yeah, I know I have 7 points as well, but you know, it's kind of a in brackets plus or minus 7 because you could see it going the other way, but it's definitely leaning towards us, and that's it. I mean, you literally you couldn't ask for a better position to be in going into a match like this, and it's we'll just have to see how they get on. Okay, so of course, as we're recording here on Friday morning, we also want to wish the Irish women the best of luck for their opening match in the inaugural WXV tournament. They're competing in the 3rd tier, which is being held out in Dubai. They kick off against Kazakhstan at 4:30 p.m. on Friday Irish time, and you can watch them on Rugby Pass TV, which is totally free. You just need to register first, so be sure to give them your full support as well as the men. Okay, so before we wrap things up, Keego, what stand-up gigs do you have lined up?
Well, as we record this on Friday the 13th, the big show is on tonight in Crowbar in Temple Bar. So if anyone's listening to this, pop on in, say harping at the door, and you can have a seat all to yourself. But no, that's the big one. And then we kind of take a little bit of a break. I was supporting Joe Rooney last night in the Mermaid Theatre. So, all this sort of stuff is building up. We take a little bit of a break. We celebrate tonight and tomorrow night. And then we get ready for what happens next in the World Cup. The table is set now. It's time to go have some dinner.
Fingers crossed. Yep. And okay, brilliant. Many thanks to Keego for harping, and also to you for tuning into our latest preview show. Enjoy the match wherever you are, and be sure to follow us all on the usual social media channels. We will, of course, have a wrap pod for you recording on Sunday evening. Hopefully, you'll help us out by liking, sharing, and subscribing. In the meantime, stay safe, everyone. Slán.